Bonjour YouTube. So tonight's our last night in Brussels and we've had a wonderful 3 nights here. We've also been to Munich since the last time I uploaded, and while tomorrow we're travelling on a train to Berlin, I thought that at least I would upload a short video. So I've definitely been having some really interesting appointments, but for the purposes of this video I thought I'd do a bit more of an informal, I suppose, my thoughts on a few things that have come out from meeting other people who were just random visits of people that we met at dinner or outside of a hotel, because it got me thinking about some things that I think will now be really important to support the different generations at work. So the other night when we were in Munich, we were sitting outside of the hotel and we were joined by a person who was from Brisbane and also an American man who worked with horses. And initially we were doing the normal, how's the weather, where do you work, what's it like where you live, what are you doing in Munich and how long are you here. But as the conversation went on, it turns out that the gentleman from Brisbane was a Vietnam veteran and the American man had served in Afghanistan and Iraq. And then they started to share their experiences of serving in the military. And while there was many years apart between the time that they served and obviously a different political and social time, what really hit home was they were able to share an experience from serving, even though the technologies had changed and in some ways the purposes of the war had changed as well. So I'm not here to make a judgment on that, but what really got me thinking was that the shared experience and the narrative of people to be able to share and connect with each other was able to bridge the distance of, say, 20 to 30 years across generations, where they were able to connect on something that would have otherwise gone unnoticed. The other thing that came in was that myself and my husband were also brought into the conversation, even though we obviously haven't served in a war. But by their connectivity and their shared experiences, we were able to share a conversation even if we hadn't have taken part yet. And I think that can possibly be equated to where we're looking to the future of work, where there might be less employees in certain industries and the use of technology is going to increase in many sectors in ways that we can only imagine now. But the one thing that is going to be consistent is that human connection that we have and the narrative of potentially why we work with a company or an organisation. And while that's always been important as far as, say, the organisation's vision or mission, I think that in order to span the experiences of people, where we'll have people who are working where the technologies maybe weren't as highlighted as they are becoming, and also new people who will be bringing with them the knowledge of technologies new and emerging, we need to be able to connect our workforce together so that we can bridge the gap so it's not split, so that we've got the newer people that maybe don't fully understand why an older generation focuses on what they do, and the older generations maybe not realising what the younger people are focusing on. And it's going to be really critical, I think, to create space, formal and informal, to hold those conversations, not just in a formal meeting, but to understand why it is we work where we work. And each job is different. I understand that some jobs are that transitional one that you need to take to pay the bills, but fundamentally we still pick to work in certain jobs in certain industries. So the two gentlemen that were connecting there couldn't be more poles apart. We had one gentleman who hadn't or doesn't use technology as it sits today, so probably doesn't have a smartphone, isn't that big a user of all of the social media, and the American gentleman did, and was quite well connected and quite well travelled. So even though we had someone who was, I'll say, tech savvy versus someone that is probably looking at technology like, why would you need that? Or what's the purpose for it? I didn't need it when I was working. Their narrative and their story and their ability to share their experiences bypassed all of the differences of the time and technology that will, I think, only speed up and increase. So it was just an interesting observation I did have. I think that, as I said, while it's always been important, this will probably be the thread that will really bring people together. And I think the organisations and industries that can do this well and understand that, in a sense, the human capital, human resources, and their experiences, their stories, and their contributions to an industry and organisation are going to be key to those that survive and those that possibly don't. So anyway, look, that's just my 2 cents worth tonight while I end up packing ready for Berlin tomorrow. I'll definitely be uploading a new video in the next couple of days once I've settled into Berlin, and we'll go into a bit more detail about the more official appointments I've had. But I thought a bit of a light-hearted video can't hurt, so I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. But until then, au revoir.